All right, guys, so here's what we're going to do. Today we're going to work on angle relationships. So we're going to go through with this graphic organizer, and we're going to be able to use this moving forward as we keep talking about angles. So let's go ahead and start filling this out. The first one we're going to look at is vertical angles. Vertical angles are two angles across from each other on intersecting lines. They are always congruent. Now, if we remember, congruent means equal. Okay, so vertical angles are always going to be equal. So it talks about intersecting lines. So let's give ourselves two intersecting lines. Okay, an example of vertical angles, if we were to label this 1, 2, 3, and 4. So our vertical angles, angle 1 would be congruent. That's what that sign means to angle 2. And angle 3 would be congruent to angle 4. Now what you guys will be able to see here is that this angle is the same as this angle. This angle is the same as this angle. So as you can see, vertical angles are across from each other on intersecting lines. All right. Let's move over here to linear pair. Two angles that are adjacent and supplementary. They form a straight line. Okay, so that tells us right now that we have a straight line. All right. We're going to have two angles, so let's go ahead and create our angle. Supplementary means that they equal 180. Okay, so let's make a note of that, 180 degrees. So if this is angle 1 and this is angle 2, they are a linear pair because angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180 degrees. So that gives us our linear pair. Now let's move down here to supplementary angles. Supplementary angles, the key to supplementary angles that you have to understand is that the sum is 180. So that means that they add up to equal 180. So if we're looking at supplementary angles, it's going to look very similar to the linear pair. Okay. So if this angle was 130, we know it has to equal 180. Therefore, we know right away that this one equals 50 degrees because 130 plus 50 equals 180. Supplementary angles. Our next will be complementary angles. The important thing to note with complementary angles is that the sum is now 90 degrees. So we talked about supplementary angles, those equal to 180. Complementary equals 90. So as we're looking at that and we're drawing that up, if we have a 90-degree angle, okay, and we know that with that box tells us that it's 90, and we get a line that splits them. You have angle 1, you have angle 2. We need angle 1 plus angle 2 to equal 90. If that happens, your angles are complementary. Moving up here to the last thing on our list, adjacent angles. Two angles that are next to each other. Now I'm going to highlight that because that's extremely important. They have to be next to each other and they have to share a common side. All right, so if we're going to look at what a complement or adjacent angle would look like, if we had an angle here and say we split it. All right, this would be angle 1, this would be angle 2. Put arrows on the ends there. We can say that these are adjacent because the angles, one, are next to each other. So we have one angle there and one angle there. Those angles are next to each other. Okay, so you have your two angles, 1 and 2, that are next to each other. And the last part is they share a common side. That common side is right there. Okay, there's your common side. That side right there. Both angle 1 and angle 2 share that side, which makes them adjacent angles. Okay, so that should complete your graphic organizer there. We'll hold that there for a second so you can see it if you need to. Pause the video there to watch it. All right. Now, what I want you guys to do is using that graphic organizer, I would like you guys to complete this table so we can do the first one together. So identify these types of angles. So if we're looking at these angles, all right, we see right here that we have angle 1 and angle 2. If we're looking at those two angles, let's go through our chart and see what we have. So if we come up here, we're going to look here at this. Let's look at vertical angles. Two angles across from each other on intersecting lines. Well, our lines are intersecting, so that's check 1. And they're across from each other. So that tells us right away now that that one's adjacent. Sorry, that one's vertical. We have vertical angles for sure there with that one.